What if the biggest decision of their lives is no longer about who they love, but about what they are willing to lose? Off Campus Season 2 could be taking the story into a much more dangerous and emotional direction, where one choice has the power to change everyone's future. The relationships we thought were strong could suddenly be tested, old feelings could return, and a secret that nobody is ready to face could force the entire group to question what comes next. And if the trailer clues are pointing in the right direction, Season 2 may not simply continue the story, it could completely change it. The first thing that makes Off Campus Season 2 so interesting is the feeling that the characters are entering a completely different stage of their lives. In the beginning, their biggest problems seemed simple. Love, friendship, college, personal dreams, and the fear of growing apart were already enough to create tension. But now, those problems may become much more serious. The characters are getting closer to the point where they have to make real choices about their futures, and that means there may be no easy way back once they choose a path. The trailer could begin with a very different energy from the first season. Instead of focusing only on romance and young love, Season 2 appears ready to explore what happens when love is tested by reality. Because falling in love is one thing, building a future together is something completely different. And this is where the real conflict could begin. One character may suddenly receive an opportunity that could change everything. It could be connected to a career, a new phobia, a major personal goal, or even a chance to leave the life they have always known. At first, this opportunity might look like something worth celebrating, but there is one problem. Taking it could mean leaving someone behind. That simple possibility could create one of the biggest emotional conflicts of the new season. Imagine finally getting the future you dreamed about, only to realize that the person you love may not be part of it. Would you choose your relationship, or would you choose yourself? And what happens when the person you love expects you to make the opposite decision? That question could sit at the center of Season 2. What makes this even more complicated is that the characters are not standing still anymore. They have changed. Their experiences have changed them, and some of them may no longer want the same things they wanted before. A relationship that once felt perfect could suddenly feel uncertain. A friendship that seemed unbreakable could face its first serious test. And someone who was once completely sure about their future may begin to question everything. But there may be an even bigger problem hiding underneath all of this. Someone could be keeping a secret. The trailer's most suspicious moments could suggest that one character knows something that the others do not. It may not be an explosive secret at first. It could be something personal, something connected to the past, or a decision that has already been made without telling the people who will be affected by it. And that is exactly what could make the situation so dangerous, because secrets rarely stay hidden forever. If the truth finally comes out, it may not just hurt one relationship. It could affect the entire group. Suddenly, conversations that once seemed harmless could have a completely different meaning. Promises could be questioned, trust could disappear, and someone who thought they were protecting the people they cared about might realize that hiding the truth only made everything worse. This could also create a surprising emotional shift for the main characters. The person who usually gives advice may suddenly be the one who needs help. The character who always seems confident could finally admit that they are scared. And someone who spent the first season trying to understand what they wanted may now have to fight for it. That is why Season 2 could feel much more personal. The stakes are no longer just about getting through another semester or surviving complicated relationships. The characters may be standing at the beginning of adulthood, where every decision feels permanent, and one decision in particular could change the future for everyone. The question is, who is going to make it? Because if the trailer is giving us one clear warning, it is this. The next chapter may not allow everyone to get the ending they want, and someone may have to sacrifice the future they dreamed about to protect the person they love. But that may only be the beginning. Because once the hidden truth comes out, the biggest question will no longer be who is right or wrong. It will be whether these relationships can survive what comes next. The biggest danger in Off Campus Season 2 may not come from an enemy, a shocking betrayal, or some dramatic event. It may come from a simple decision that looks harmless at first. One character could be forced to choose between the life they have always imagined and the people they have grown to love. And the terrifying part is that there may be no perfect answer. This is where the new season could become much more emotional. In season 1, the characters were still discovering each other. They were learning what love meant, what friendship meant, and how difficult it could be to balance personal dreams with the expectations of other people. But season 2 could ask a much harder question. What happens when growing up means leaving someone behind? One opportunity could suddenly put everything at risk. It might be the kind of opportunity that only comes once. A career opening, a chance to move somewhere new, a future that promises success. For one character, saying no could mean living with regret forever. But saying yes could mean losing the relationship that matters most. And that creates a painful situation. At first, they may try to hide the problem. They may convince themselves that there is still time. They may believe they can figure everything out later. But the closer the decision gets, the harder it becomes to pretend that nothing is changing. The person they love may begin to notice the distance. Conversations become shorter, plans suddenly change, questions are avoided. And every time someone asks, "Is everything okay?" the answer may be yes, even when everyone knows it is not. That emotional tension could become one of the strongest parts of season 2, because sometimes the most painful betrayal is not a lie. It is the feeling that someone made a life-changing decision without including you. And this is where another character could become extremely important. A close friend may discover the truth before anyone else. Instead of immediately exposing the secret, they could try to understand why the decision was being hidden. But protecting one friend could mean betraying another. Suddenly, this person is caught in the middle, forced to decide whether loyalty means keeping a secret or telling the truth. That could create a chain reaction. Once one secret is revealed, another could follow. Something from the past may return at exactly the wrong moment. A previous relationship, an old mistake, or an unresolved emotional wound could suddenly become relevant again. The characters may have believed they had moved on, but season 2 could prove that some things never really disappear. And that could be especially dangerous for a couple who already feels uncertain. One person may begin to question whether they are truly ready for the future they have been discussing. The other may see that hesitation and mistake it for a lack of love. Instead of talking honestly, they could start pulling away from each other. The result could be heartbreaking. A relationship that once felt safe could become filled with doubt, but there may also be a surprising twist. The character everyone expects to make the selfish choice may actually be the one willing to sacrifice everything. Meanwhile, the person who appears supportive may have their own hidden reason for pushing them toward a certain decision. That would completely change the way we see the story. Because Off-Campus Season 2 does not have to be about choosing between good and bad people. It could be about people who genuinely love each other, but still make choices that hurt one another. And that is what makes the future so unpredictable. There could be a moment when someone finally says what they have been afraid to say for a long time. Maybe they admit they are scared. Maybe they confess that their feelings have changed. Or maybe they reveal that they have already made a decision. Whatever that moment looks like, it could become the emotional turning point of the season. Because once that truth is spoken, there is no taking it back. The group may begin moving in different directions. Some may choose love, some may choose their careers, some may choose independence, and others may realize that the future they wanted was never really theirs to begin with. But just when it seems like everything is falling apart, the trailer could be hiding one final clue. A reunion, a conversation that was never supposed to happen, and perhaps one character from the past who returns at exactly the moment when everyone thought their story was finished. If that happens, the entire balance could change, because sometimes the person who can destroy your future is also the person who knows the truth about your past. And in Season 2, those two things may finally collide. By the time Off-Campus Season 2 reaches its biggest turning point, the characters may finally realize something they have been trying to avoid all along. Growing up means making choices that cannot always be undone. The relationships, friendships, and dreams that once felt permanent could suddenly become uncertain, and one final decision could determine where everyone goes from here. The most emotional part of the season could come when the characters finally stop running from the truth. The secrets that created tension may finally be exposed, and the people who were hurt may have to decide whether they are willing to forgive. But forgiveness will not be simple. Saying sorry does not automatically repair broken trust. And loving someone does not always mean staying with them. That could make the central relationship even more complicated. One person may be ready to move forward, while the other is still trapped by fear. They could both want the same future, but they may disagree about how to reach it. And the more they try to force things back to normal, the clearer it becomes that they are not the same people they were before. This is where Season 2 could deliver one of its biggest emotional surprises. A character who seemed completely certain about their future could suddenly walk away. Not because they stopped caring, not because they found someone else, but because they finally realized that staying in a relationship while giving up their own dreams would eventually create resentment. That decision could hurt more than any breakup, because sometimes loving someone means accepting that you cannot control the direction their life takes. At the same time, another character could finally stop allowing fear to make their decisions. After spending so much time worrying about losing people, they may finally choose to fight for what they want. But instead of chasing someone, they could make a decision for themselves. That could be the real message behind the new season. The future cannot be built by constantly looking backward. But before the characters can move forward, they may have to face one final problem. The secret that started everything could have consequences much bigger than anyone expected. Something that was hidden to protect one person could end up affecting the entire group. A decision made privately could suddenly become public. And when everyone discovers the truth, friendships may be tested in ways they never imagined. Someone could feel betrayed. Someone else could feel abandoned. And one person may finally admit that they have been pretending to be okay for far too long. That confession could completely change the emotional direction of the story. Because underneath all the romance and drama, these characters are dealing with something very real: the fear of becoming different people and losing the connections that helped them survive the past. That is why the ending of Season 2 could be much more than a simple happy or sad conclusion. It could be a new beginning. Some relationships may survive, others may end. A few characters could finally find the courage to follow their dreams, even if that means taking a path nobody expected. And there could be one final moment that leaves everything open. A character receives a message, they read it, their expression changes. And suddenly, everything we thought had been settled is uncertain again. Who sent the message? What does it mean? And why does it look like the decision they just made may have to be reconsidered? That could be the perfect setup for the next chapter. Because if Off-Campus Season 2 is really about the future, then the biggest surprise may be that nobody actually knows what their future looks like yet. The choices they make now could shape their careers, their relationships, their friendships, and even the people they eventually become. And that is what makes this season so exciting. The characters are no longer simply asking, "Who do I love?" They are asking, "Who do I want to become?" And sometimes those two answers are not the same. So if the trailer is truly hinting at what comes next, fans should prepare for a season filled with difficult choices, emotional confrontations, unexpected changes, and secrets that could completely reshape the story. Because one thing is becoming clear: the future is coming, and this time, nobody gets to escape it. The question is not whether everything will change. The question is who will be ready when it does. And that is what makes the future of Off-Campus Season 2 so unpredictable. The biggest danger may not be one shocking event, but the choices these characters are about to make. Every relationship could be tested, every dream could come with a price, and every secret could have consequences. What makes this even more exciting is that the characters may finally be reaching the point where they cannot keep living in the middle. They have to choose. They have to decide who they trust, what they want, and how much they are willing to sacrifice for the people they love. And when those decisions finally happen, there may be no way to return to the way things were before. One character could choose love over a major opportunity. Another could decide that their own future matters more than keeping a relationship alive. Someone else could finally reveal a secret they have been carrying for far too long. And the person nobody expected to change could become the one who changes everything. That is why the trailer could be hiding more than it shows. Sometimes the most important moments are not the loudest ones. A single conversation can change a relationship. One unanswered message can create doubt. One decision made in private can affect an entire group. And if Season 2 follows that direction, we could see these characters pushed further than ever before. But there is another question fans should keep in mind. What if the person who seems to be losing everything is actually the one who has the most to gain? What if the breakup is not the end? What if the opportunity that separates two people eventually brings them back together? And what if the secret we think will destroy everything actually reveals the truth they needed to hear? That is where the suspense becomes even stronger, because the future does not always follow the plan. People change, feelings change, priorities change, and sometimes the person you thought would always be beside you becomes the person you have to learn how to live without. For these characters, that could be the hardest lesson of all. They may discover that love is not always about holding on. Sometimes it is about giving someone the freedom to become the person they are meant to be. But that does not mean the emotional damage disappears. There could still be jealousy. There could still be regret. There could still be moments when someone looks back and wonders whether they made the wrong choice. And those moments could give Season 2 some of its most powerful emotional scenes. The most interesting part is that nobody may actually be the villain. Everyone could have a reason. Everyone could believe they are doing the right thing. And everyone could still end up hurting someone they care about. That kind of conflict makes the story much more unpredictable because there is no obvious side to choose. You may understand one character's decision in one episode and completely disagree with them in the next. And just when you think you know where the story is going, another revelation could change everything. So, as we look ahead to Off Campus Season 2, there is one thing fans should be prepared for. The story may not give everyone the future they expected. Some relationships may become stronger, some may fall apart. Some characters may finally chase their dreams, and others may discover that the dream they were chasing was never what they truly wanted. But perhaps the biggest question of all is whether the group can stay together after everything they are about to face. Because once trust is broken, rebuilding it takes time, and once someone walks away, getting them back may not be easy. That is why the next chapter could feel much more emotional than the first. The characters are not simply dealing with romance anymore. They are dealing with adulthood. They are learning that every decision has consequences. And sometimes, choosing one future means giving up another. So what do you think? Will the main relationship survive the pressure? Will someone choose their career over love? Could an old secret finally come out? And most importantly, which character do you think will make the decision that changes everyone's future? Let me know your theories in the comments, because the smallest detail could turn out to be the biggest clue. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more updates, theories, and news about Off Campus and your favorite upcoming series. And stay tuned, because the moment the next major update arrives, we will be breaking down every important detail. Until then, remember one thing: the future may already be changing, and these characters may have no idea what is coming.